Good afternoon. Welcome to Nigeria Now, where we look at issues that are happening presently in Nigeria. We are seeing that, presently Kebbi is going through a little outbreak of polio virus, and we are also seeing that in relation to still health, we're seeing that the weather is getting quite hot. So meningitis is also an issue where we're seeing that there are talks about people taking care of themselves, staying hydrated, and also making sure that where they live is quite ventilated so that they do not get attacked. And then we're seeing that vaccination should go around as much as possible. I am Stella Elisha Dashab. Remember, you can join us live on Facebook and on YouTube as we discuss these issues together. And I will be doing the program alongside Rachel Tanzi. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Sally.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm great, thank you so much. All right, let us start with the issue in Kebbi, because I think it's important. On this show, we tend to look at politics, health, education, security, and other parts that actually affect Nigerians directly. And we're seeing that in Kebbi, we're having about 25 cases. It has affected about 7 communities, starting from Burning Kebbi down to other communities regarding the issue of this polio cases. And we're seeing that the health ministry over there is looking into how we can have vaccination going down to the grassroots level, because we see most times these cases are always found in the grassroots level, and then sometimes you tend to wonder if they don't have enough sanitization concerning the issue of polio. And then when I saw it, I was hoping that polio should be something that we should be talking about. It should be like something in the past, not presently, because I was hoping enough awareness have been done concerning polio, what is needed, because I know it's part of the vaccination kids do receive together with other vaccination and all of that. But we're seeing that we are still having the case of polio. We're seeing that about 25 cases presently. So that is to say, that is the one that the ministry is able to record, and I'm believing that there's more out there that the government of Kebbi is yet to see. And I think it's very, very imperative that the government of that state and also neighboring state need to do something, in as much as they're trying to curtail it so that it doesn't spread also affect other children there. But I think when it comes to educating people concerning what polio is, the importance of vaccination and all of that, that really, really needs to be done, because we're beginning to take these issues lightly, and then we're seeing that cases that we thought is the issue of the past is still coming, and if we don't do something about it, we'll still be having fears concerning polio even till 2025 or even 2030 if the government does not do something concerning addressing this issue of polio in the states.
So this news totally broke my heart, because I know how long it took for polio vaccine to be created, because there was no advancement of medicine at that time. For us to have polio vaccine, it took like 30 years literally for us to have polio vaccines available. And then even the journey of eradicating polio in Nigeria, the virus, was really a difficult one. And personally, there was a point in time I was happy that polio was no longer a threat again, because people were getting vaccinated, and then there were no longer recorded new cases. Most people you see that have been affected by polio were not people that were giving birth to like 10 or 15 years ago, were people that have been giving birth earlier before. Now we're looking at 2020 upward and all of that, and then to see that new cases are being recorded. And why it made me sad and broke my heart is the fact that I believe that this is not as a result of lack of information. If we were able to get to the point of eradicating polio to the extent that there were years that there were no new cases of polio recorded in Nigeria, then it means that polio vaccination went to the deepest corner of Nigeria. It means it went to every corner of Nigeria. And for some reason, I am it might be a speculation, but in my heart, it's not good enough. My heart is not a statistic. But I believe these are people who refuse to get the vaccine. These are people who have become stubborn, probably still going with the myth and the lack of information we once had in the past that polio affected children in the future. And there is no proof to that, but just those kind of African superstition we attach to a lot of
to
things that we do
culture,
not
to
have,
almost, yeah.
most especially to health. And we have health professionals telling you that this is not true, this is not true, but you insist and say this is it. Because the thing about polio vaccine is not like hepatitis that you are the one to go and follow them.
They go
Doorstep to doorstep.
Yeah.
And if there was a point in time we were not recording new cases of polio in Nigeria, then it means it went to the deepest part of the country, and that was what was done concerning polio in Nigeria. And then here we are again, polio coming out, and just as you said, this is just but a few numbers. Before we know it, more digging, and then the numbers will increase, and then you wonder why. Because you won't be surprised. It's a community, it's a family, it's a group of people. It will be definitely within a closed door, a close group of people. And I mean, it is really sad that seeing that all the hard work put over decades and decades, it looks like nothing has been done, and then it's almost like we're back to square one. Because if this thing is back, then we can't say we are polio free in Nigeria. The whole story of no more polio, eradicate polio, and all of that is no more. We can talk about that for many other things that we're still struggling with, and just when it feels like there's a breakthrough, then we see that there was never a big breakthrough in the first place. So I just hope, now these people are affected by it, there's nothing that can be done. Only thing is that, you know what, new work needs to be done. More sensitization concerning polio vaccination. The government have to now start debunking whatever myth and lies that were attached to it, so that people will be able to, you know what, get this vaccine, and then we will not record any new cases. Because if you see people affected by polio, it will, because you just know that these people cannot do much even if they want to. We can attach that to every other thing that is killing us in the African continent, in Nigeria precisely, and then polio should be one of which that by now we should not be recording new cases.
You know, Rachel, you really hit the nail on the head, because I mean, just when we're excited, eradication of polio, you've said it. But then I just hope that I think this is a work that not just the government should do, because I remember, I mean, when it comes to vaccination, we have our various religious body being involved to actually let their members know that, you know what, there's nothing scary. Let your kids receive this vaccination. We keep seeing calendars everywhere. We see pictures. We see the best that they can do. I mean, that is what we believe that we're doing their best. But just like you say, this is work done zero in that part. And I'm hoping that, you know what, this will raise awareness. Just like I said, I mean, the weather is quite hot right now, so we'll be having issues of even meningitis coming over. We're seeing the, you know, people talking about the fact that, you know what, it's important we have ventilation and all of that, and then with the weather, the way it seems so stuffy and all of that, so it is very, very important that we take care of our health. Very important. Now let us get to the issue, not really the only issue, but I feel something that is very, very dear, and I think Nigerians need to look into it. Let us take a look at the ways and means loan that was collected last year. Rachel, I quite remember when the former president, precisely Buhari, approached the House, the Ninth House, to approve the 22.7 trillion naira in May. We made a comment about the fact that, I mean, this money are meant to actually come in more like an emergency fund, where we don't have any other place to turn to. We get that money, and that money mainly is supposed to use to actually help Nigerians. So talking about the country entirely, not few individuals or a particular sector. Now we saw that additional money again was being asked again, and that was approved towards the ending of last year, December, from the House. Now here we're saying that the present Senate, as the 10th House, together with the president, is saying that, I mean, from the very beginning, we kept seeing them blaming the former administration, that they met the administration. I mean, there was some misappropriation of funds, embezzlement, and just name the word they used concerning the former administration. Now we're seeing they said, you know what, we remember yesterday when we were actually not very satisfied when our Senate president said they really do not know what they are going to blame the former CBN governor for. Because it seems his hand is soiled in so many issues, atrocities, that they do not know what to actually charge him for precisely. Now we're saying that his name is coming up again here, but this time around, not him alone, brought together with the president, that's the former President Buhari, and we say there's going to be a probe. Now, we're seeing a number of people coming out. I mean, I took my time to go back, and we're saying that during that time, there were actually members of the House, the Ninth House, that were against the approval of this, because they said, number one, it is unconstitutional. Secondly, there was no detail.
There wasn't.
Concerning what you intend to do with this
Exactly.
money. And I believe that with the detail will actually help the House to be able to audit it and see what did you do with this money, so that when we ask for accountability, we'll actually have it. But we're seeing that the House gave it a go ahead. And what pissed me off concerning this was the fact that the former Senate president stated the fact that this was an executive order. And I remember when we keep saying that there should be check and balance in all of our arms of government. Ideally, no arm of government is supposed to be superior to the other. Talking about the executive, the legislature, including the judiciary. But here we're seeing the executive have been given an upper hand. So whatever the executive said they want, we saw that the legislature just approved it. Even when we have some members of the House saying, no, we cannot do this, no, and all of that. Now we're seeing that we are back to give us account of what actually happened to this money. We want to investigate it, and we're seeing that, I mean, when looking at this whole thing, Rachel, you just can't help to wonder what kind of legislature we actually have. Because believe you me, Rachel, right now I'm not blaming the president, neither am I blaming the CBN governor, even though they have their blames to share. But then, as intelligent as our legislature are supposed to be, how on earth would you approve such a huge amount of money without having detail of what that thing is? Right now, the reason why, in fact, as what is even more annoying is the fact the reason why we are proving it is because right now there's hunger in the land, and we need money, and we don't have money. So we are trying to go back. It's more like you borrow somebody 500 naira back then in secondary school, Rachel, and because you are broke right now, you are trying to text the person and say that 500 naira I gave you in 2009, please, I need it now. That doesn't make sense. So I'm just wondering what really is the problem. What kind of house do we have? What kind of legislature do we have? That is because we're broke. We're trying to see them going to actually probe this issue or this money presently.
If the Ninth Assembly approved the Ways and Means for President Buhari based on executive order, then I believe that for the members of the House, our legislators that are moving for a parliamentary system of governance will have an upper hand to say, you know what, rather than the presidential system, we need the parliamentary, because with the parliamentary system of government, this will never happen. This will absolutely not happen. There won't be an executive order releasing 22.7 trillion naira without a proper breakdown, without agreement from without the judiciary, the legislature, the executive saying this is what we are going to do with it, and everybody take the blame. And at this point, we can freely say that, you know what, the Ninth Assembly has failed us.
It was a flop.
It was absolutely a flop. And now looking at what the 10th Assembly is trying to do, now the question is, are you probing this because of MFLA, because you really, really want these Ways and Means money recovered, and you really, really want to know what is going, because it is always, everything in Nigeria feels like an elite war. It's like, who has the upper hand now? Who are we going to choke? Who are we going to put behind bars, and all of that? Now, why I am asking this is because I want to see, right, an assembly that will truly probe. There is no question of, after investigation, we will know whether these borrowed funds will be paid back or not. And just as you said, okay, so imagine without hunger and things were moving on without food insecurity. Are you going to tell me that you would leave this 22.7 trillion naira that is being unaccounted for to pass by? Just as you said, does it make sense now that because you are now hungry, or are you supposed to probe it with or without hunger? And this is why I keep saying hope is not an elite war, because then they will not do the right thing. They will not do the needful, and then we will never be able to account for this money. And every time I sit down, I think, just as you clearly say, what the ways and mean for is almost like a supplementary budget. That's what the ways and means to come in and boost in one or another thing that was not budgeted for in the first place, and all of that. And here we are having, and I'm so grateful that we talked about these ways and means on this show over and over when the president was moving for it, because it was barely few months to him leaving the office. And we're like, what does President Buhari need 22.7 trillion naira for? We're looking at it, he started 2022, and we're working into we're working into February 2020. There was going to be a general poll, and the president insisted, and the Ninth House of Assembly gave him. And we talked about it because there was no anything definite for sure was going to be done. And then we're having the figures up to 30 trillion naira because we're also looking at the anchor borrower scheme that trillions were giving rice farmers, and we don't have rice in this country. And nothing can be said about this money. And we are looking at an administration that have got 30 trillion naira, and there's nothing to show absolutely for it. Nothing to show for it. And then I wonder, somebody will sit down and still think that Buhari was never a problem in an administration, or will sit down and keep borrowing, because we never had such a situation with the past administration. We've never had a situation where such huge amount of money would be issued out by our legislators, and then we have nothing to show for it. This is the first time we're looking at a money that is worth a whole budget for a whole year being removed for one thing. Even when it comes to, we take out 22.7 trillion naira, we minus that from 30, we're still left with 6.3 trillion naira going into anchor borrowers loan. This, and then we have nothing to show for it. We don't know who are the farmers, and we cannot see the rice they were giving for. And yet you are thinking whether or not, because we saw that coming from the finance minister, saying the investigation, at the end of the investigation, is to determine whether or not, no, the money must be returned. Whatever is the outcome of the investigation, except if there is going to be a proof of something that has been done with that money. If there is no proof, we don't care what the outcome of the investigation is, that money needs to be put back into the Central Bank of Nigeria. We need our reserve, and it's just disheartening on a lot of levels that we would not be able, as a country that was never even having enough, not be able to account for 30 trillion naira.
No, Rachel, this is just giving an eye-opener. We've said this over and over, the fact that our system is the key. And I think our leaders have gotten so comfortable with the fact that nobody calls you to account for certain things. I mean, when you get on the seat, you believe that it's a national cake, so let me have my own share. And then no wonder during that anchors and borrowers loan, and then together with the ways and means, a number of people said maybe the president was trying to have his pension before leaving the office. A number of people made that. A number of people said that, because it really would not make sense that in May, just when we're supposed to be having the swearing in, because election was already conducted.
It was,
So just when you're supposed to have a new president on seat, you are asking the Knights, when you are even supposed to start tidying up and handing up files and saying, you know what, this and this was what, this project, we gave money to this contractor, we hope you follow all. These are things that you're supposed to be doing.
And why was it even dragged from 2022 up to 2023?
So Richard, these are questions that I hope that our leaders are listening and that they'll give an answer. We definitely need an answer, because I believe that Nigerians are not that dumb not to see this. And I hope that, just like we said, it's not because we're broke that we want to go back there, but we need to grow this attitude of being transparent and accountable, regardless of what the situation on ground is. So I'm hoping to see check and balance being done honestly. And just like you said, if this is the reason, maybe, I mean, the reps are not actually that bad. The 90 members that said, you know what, let us go back to parliamentary. Maybe then we'll begin to see our leaders being accountable to the legislature, not taking a step without making them know, and then be sure that, you know what, they have to check it and be sure that, you know what, okay, we can approve this, then we give it a go ahead. Well, our fingers will just be crossed. Let's hope and see that all that needs to be done will be done. They should not leave any stone unturned. They should turn everything. If it means bringing the former president to actually account for whatever it is, please, he needs to answer and give us detail on why and how certain things were being done. Now we're seeing that the rains is already here. I mean, we know that Lagos, yes, is one of those states that actually have rains in and out of season and all of that. But we're seeing that the flood is where the problem is. Now we're seeing that about 151 houses have been affected by the flood. And in the rain started like down from Sunday down to like yesterday. And then we're seeing about number of communities have also been affected, even though they say no life was lost. But then we're seeing that, I mean, the fire service, NEMA, and other people needed to come together to rescue those who were trapped. And I think this is really something that we should take seriously. We know there have been warning coming, especially coming from NEMA, the fact that we need to keep our drainages clear so that we have good waterways and then all of that. But then it breaks my heart that it seems every year we're talking about the same thing, and it seems as if we're not doing the right thing that we're supposed to do. No wonder funds that we're supposed to use for better things, we have to keep using those funds to actually help the vulnerable people who are homeless and all of that. And I think it is really, really important that Nigerians take this seriously, in as much as we're talking about Lagos State. But I'm being concerned for places like Kebbi, places like Kano, places like Benue, places like Taraba that are sharing borders. I know, you know, a number, we had the issue of the Cameroon, and I'm hoping, Rachel, I am actually praying and hoping there'll be no any opening of dam again this year, because it seems as if we always have a dam being opened, and then we are not aware until the dam is being opened, and then we have a lot of destruction, and then we say, okay, there was a letter that was sent earlier last in the middle saying that we should evacuate people living by the waterside should leave and all of that. But I think the concern right now is, what can Nigerians do? What can various states do to make sure that, you know what, people will not get affected? We know what happened last year. Talking about farmlands, talking about homes, people who also lost their life and all of that. But we're looking forward to seeing something different this year.
So it's February, and we are recording case of flooding in Lagos. Over 150 houses. So you know that the landmass is quite huge, regardless of how congested the area will be. And it is a worrying situation, because you can't only help to imagine it's not yet the seasons for rain to start yet. And if a downpour, a one day downpour can cause this much havoc, imagine when we get to the season when it's actually meant for the rain, and we are going to see days and days of downpour. What is it going to be for? And we saw the president taking over 514 delegates to COP28. And after that, we never heard a speech or a feedback on what they learned concerning climate change. Because we are supposed to have started the ball rolling like immediately. That is the reason for this summit and conference, is you go get world-leading solutions, come back and start implementing it, because climate change is globally, and there are people that have faced the climate change that you are now about to start facing. So you learn from experts, you learn from world leaders, you learn what your economy can do about the climate change, and then you start working on it. But we came back. I think when you go for conferences and some of you are supposed to come back and share the knowledge with Nigerians and tell them, okay, going forward to be able to cope with climate change in the country, as there have been predictions of flooding that will be the major climate change issue we're going to have for 2024. These are the ways forward. And this is down to the state level, at the federal. And you know what, as you are presenting your 2024 budget, it comes with a specific amount given towards climate change. So was those delegates that travel just to go and chill in Dubai, for example, and come back and there was nothing? That is how we operate. That's how we grow. But we come back and then we just, maybe there's one tiny few billions of naira for environmental ministry and all of that, and nothing get directly towards climate change. So what does that mean? It means there's just going to be a lot of flooding, because I'm not seeing anything put in place concerning the climate change that we'll encounter, because since then and by now we're supposed to have started seeing measures put in place. Okay, if drainages is the problem, then where are environmental what do they call it, people who monitor that? Because they're supposed to be those people who, if they say there's sanitation, you make sure that people You go around and make it mandatory from now. The aim in 2024 is to clear every drainages and even build more. If it's going to, how many percentage will it help flooding? If it's 10%, let's do it. What about waterways and then preserving water? What can state do about channeling water that, okay, this place is exactly is going to be full. Okay, where are these? There are states that are prone to that. We saw that last year. And this place, government have to from the federal level have to come in and intervene. Then at the state level, for the states that might not see much of it, but there's a little bit, they do something little. And then we make headway, and then we can say, you know what, there might be a little bit of flooding, but with this, and that put in place, we will not see it. And there's obviously nothing being done because it should have started since then, not even now. So, I mean, Sele, I just don't know. Let's just wait and see what, and Tinubu's administration will do about climate change this 2024.
Well, Rachel, I'm happy you brought up the issue of the conference they attended last year, and then the fact that we've not seen anything regarding that. So I just believe that they are listening to us presently.
Yeah.
And then they should go back and actually check if they actually took notes of anything that happened during that conference. They should please share the knowledge so that we'll be able to curtail this flooding, because I'm really, really afraid. I know what the flooding did last year. So, and then we've seen that for flooding, it never gets, excuse me, we see that for flooding, for every year it becomes worse.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that the government will actually do what they are supposed to do about that. Well, Rachel, I guess we should draw the curtain for today here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
You're welcome, Sele.
And also thank you to our viewers. Thank you to our supporters for keeping another moment with us on Nigeria Now. Until we come tomorrow, do have a blessed day ahead.